we kind of had a tough road getting here, tougher than normal. Like, usually they wait between arrests. This time they had to arrest me back to back in 2 different provinces in 2 different days. Because first in Manitoba, we exposed ridiculous police corruption that's now documented, and they got so embarrassed that the next day they had me arrested in Ontario. Only that time, now that I'm out on my sixth separate bail, all with their own specific freedom-crushing conditions. On this last one, they tried to take it personal. They tried to make me sign a form that I wouldn't be allowed to see or be with my wife. Obviously,
That's not gonna happen.
yeah, not being able to drive, not being able to fly, having my guns, my legally owned guns taken, not being able to be without my surety, without his permission, not being able to speak in Ontario when there's a stay-at-home order, which is what kept me away this long, by the way. All of that wasn't enough, no, because I'm still talking, because I'm still speaking the truth, because I'm still letting you all know. They tried to take away what I love more than anything in the world. And that was the biggest mistake they've made this entire pandemic. I want you to think about what you really love in life, who you really love in life. What would you do to protect those people? What would you do for that freedom? What would you be willing to give up?
My life, everything!
Previous generations were willing to give up their very lives. Our generation is coerced into a mandated vaccine because they might not be able to go to school.
Bullshit!
Or because they might lose a job.
Bullshit!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an attitude that we can't have. You have to focus on what you love. And when you focus on what you love over what they're trying to make you fear, that's when you'll be ready. Sorry.
Yeah, the microphone cuts out.
Oh, sorry. That's when you'll be ready for united non-compliance. And they made another huge mistake with this vaccine passport. The same mistake they made with the hotel quarantine. It's so ridiculous, it's so sinister, that it makes absolutely no sense, to the point that they unified the entire country against them. And all it took was for someone like me to make a little airport video to show everybody how to assert their rights and freedoms. And it didn't do anything when I did it alone, except it gave you guys the knowledge and hopefully the courage and inspiration. But when you all did do it with me, thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of Canadians, guess what happened? There's no more hotel quarantine. So what do you think is going to happen now with the vaccine passport? I don't care if you're double masked. I don't care if you're double jabbed and you can't wait for your 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th shot. Oh yeah, by the way, you're never fully vaccinated. Never. But even those people have to understand that the right to choose, our freedom, our rights are not to be trifled with. They are essential. That is not a tagline. That is a building block, fundamental building block of any successful and content society. And if they try to take that away from all of us, which they are trying to do, regardless if you agree with what they're using, vaccines, vaccine passport, you still have to be against the idea of taking away your brother and sisters and grandchildren's freedoms. Right? It is that simple. That's why we had over 300,000 people on the streets of Montreal to protest that vaccine passport before they even announced it everywhere else. But I told you it was coming. And that's why I came here today. I wanted to tell you guys what's going to happen so you can go and tell everybody you know, especially the ones that have been complying with everything. Because the entire time they've been saying people like me, the non-compliers, are what's prolonging this and what's making it worse or what's causing all the restrictions. In reality, it's obviously the compliers, because every time you comply with what they say, they just move the goalpost and ask for something else. You want the most recent example? It's going to make you really angry, because I bet you most of you don't even hear about it yet. You know what the new vaccination target is for herd immunity, according to Ontario Public Health? 100+% of the adult population and over 90% of the entire population of Ontario, meaning they want to expand the vaccine program to children under 12. And I guess what happens if they get 100% compliance? There's no resistance to the vaccine passport, and that's what this is all about. If they get 75% compliance, which is more than enough for any herd immunity, it's not enough to steal your rights and freedoms if 25% of Canadians are walking around saying, I still value my rights and freedoms. That's why they're so desperate with this massive push to mandate the jab in federal, private, in students, in teachers, in pilots, everywhere they can, because they need over 90% compliance of the population in order to be able to ostracize the remaining few of us that still value our rights and freedoms. So tell me, is there a political solution to a problem like this? You think you're gonna vote for a politician this election in the next 5 weeks, and all of a sudden, yeah, thank you, and all of a sudden it's all gonna go away? I don't care who your favorite politician is. I don't vote, and I don't vote for a reason. All the politicians are full of crap. None of them represent you. They all represent their own interests. And if you doubt that at all, please name me one time in human history, go as far back as you like, where a group of people under tyranny voted their way out of tyranny.
Never.
That's why none of the politicians, including Maxime Bernier, when I was in Montreal, I invited him up on stage and said, Maxime, if you're really benevolent, if you're about the people, stand with me today and tell them you support united non-compliance. They cheered, he didn't show up. Why? It's because united non-compliance, number one, is the only solution to this problem, and there's 3 phases, and we'll break them down in a minute. But number 2, more importantly, it's about giving the power to the people where it belongs. And do you think any politician is going to support that idea? They don't want you to be free. They just want to be the ones to manage the takeover of our country. Let that sink in. There's no such thing as a political freedom rally. There's either a political rally or a freedom rally. And this right here is what we call a freedom rally. Real freedom. Real freedom comes from the people. Comes from the people standing up and just saying no to the things that they know are not right. It's really not much harder than that. If the government gives you an order, like put a diaper on your face, and you know it's not the right thing to do. And by the way, in Ontario, we're the only losers in North America that still have a mask mandate. I've been going all across Canada. She's been all across the United States. I've been to 15 countries in 4 continents since COVID started. No mask, by the way. And guess what? In Ontario, we have mandates. Even in Manitoba, where they have the most corrupt police force I've ever seen in Canadian history, and I can say that with conviction, they still don't have mask mandates. Places like Alberta and BC ditched their mask mandates like in July. Obviously they're coming back now, because I forgot. We got to tell you all what's going to happen.
Spoiler alert.
Big time spoiler alert. And the reason I'm going to tell you is because all the people that have been complying incessantly and being the ones that are actually moving the agenda along, once you tell them to their face, this is exactly what's going to happen in the next 2 months, and you use a crystal ball and you give them a 100% accurate prediction, they're finally going to make the realization that this isn't about their health and safety, and it's about control. And when they get that in their head, nobody is going to comply with that vaccine passport. What kind of resistance have we seen already? We started a group in BC about a week ago using the same wonderful woman from Corduroy's restaurant who organized the BC businesses against the lockdowns, which got BC open in May when we weren't open in July. So it makes a difference, people. Big difference. She already has, guess how many people in the group? And I didn't even check it yet today. It's probably way more. Over 80,000 BC businesses have already signed on to say no to the vaccine passport. So it doesn't look like any of them will be going hungry or losing any of their services anytime soon. And in Ontario, a group similar to that had only 3,200 people in it yesterday around 2:30 p.m. I posted it on my Telegram, and the last time I checked, it was right before I spoke last night, around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and it already had almost 13,000 businesses.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's going to keep growing. Because everybody values their rights and freedoms. I'm talking to Canadians that are retired, wealthy, not even living in Canada, double jab, scared of COVID because they're old, they're not very healthy. But when the vaccine passport came in, these people started jumping out at the sidelines. They don't want to see this for their children and their grandchildren. They don't want to go to their graves with their money knowing that their family is going to be enslaved for generations. So all the government is doing is uniting us, and they're going to try to divide us. So what's going to happen, and how are they going to do it? These evil bastards. You already know they've been doing predictive programming to let you know another lockdown's coming. So how are they going to do it to benefit themselves? First of all, Trudeau's going to win the election. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Knew it.
It's so ridiculous, they have to literally cancel his events. Imagine if Trudeau came and got a crowd like this in Windsor. No, I saw Trudeau in Calgary, and he had nobody in the crowd. He made that ridiculous comment about how people don't have the right to sit next to people who are vaccinated if they're unvaccinated. And it was like his big mic drop moment, and the crowd just was, even the paid people didn't even cheer for him. So we have a prime minister that's that popular, but he's still going to win. And then right away, they're going to talk about rising cases. You're going to see all the people, especially the ones that took a third jab, getting sick. And they're going to wonder why. They're going to look for answers. So the government, of course, is going to provide those wonderful answers. It's a new variant. They're going to call it COVID-22, Delta Plus, super strain, whatever the hell they're going to call it. Remember all those wonderful keywords I just said right away. I hope this is being recorded, because I love when I pick the exact words they use before they use them. And guess what? They're going to blame that new variant that's making the vaccinated people sick on the unvaccinated.
Yep.
And if you thought the division between the maskers and the non-maskers was bad, imagine how much they're going to hate us when they're actually getting sick and their family members are actually dying. And every time they turn on the TV's telling them, your vaccinated people are dying because of these filthy, unvaccinated, dangerous terrorists. Joe Biden called us terrorists in the United States. Terrorists.
Yep. He's a terrorist.
Terrorists for not taking the jab. And then Mitt Romney made a comment today saying that our freedom puts his health at risk. Oh, I'm sorry, Mitt. Maybe you shouldn't have tried to be president of the United States then. Maybe you should have went to China. Anyways, this is what they're going to do. And instead of allowing it to divide us, if you go and tell them all this is going to happen, and it happens bit by bit, as you say, are they going to be inclined to believe the government? Are they going to be inclined to believe that the government made them sick with the vaccine? The truth. That's the truth. The vaccine is getting people sick. If you want evidence of this, look around the world. Iceland has almost 100% of their adults given at least one jab. They're having a massive outbreak. Singapore admits that they have 75% of their cases from the vaccinated. Israel has one of the highest vaccinated populations in the world, a massive death rate. A place like Russia has like a 16% vaccination rate. And they're not dying. They're not in like ridiculous lockdowns. But you know who are? The people that comply. Have you seen Australia? Australia is Canada 3 months from now, because they're already in winter.
Exactly. Yep.
And at last I checked, they're raiding, let me say that again, they're raiding an average of 2,800 homes per day for compliance checks, because you're not allowed to go more than 5 kilometers from your house, or you're not allowed more than 1 hour of exercise per day. And if you try to step out of these rules, there are very swift and harsh punishments. A gentleman tried. He tried to leave his 5 kilometer radius, and he did. He got out. They grabbed him, they charged him, they sentenced him, and they put him in jail all within 24 hours for 8 months.
Wow.
Kangaroo court.
Yeah, that's literally a kangaroo court. Literally. And that's what they're going to do here if we allow. They already brought the military into Australia. And if you look, they actually brought the military into Canada as well. Yep. Somewhere in the Northwest Territories, a little town. They used the excuse that 25% of the town had COVID. So they sent the military to help. And by help, that means they're going to surround the town and tell them all to take the vaccine, and they're not going to leave until they take it. And because they're an isolated little town, it's going to work. And that's what they call a training operation. And they're going to try to do that here. They're going to try to isolate you from your friends and family. They're going to make checkpoints between the provinces. Then they're going to make checkpoints within the provinces, if we let them.
Yeah.
And that's why, if you tell everybody what's going to happen, and it starts to unfold before their eyes, they're going to wake up. And how do I know this is true? I wouldn't be here wasting my time if it wasn't. Hell, I couldn't even drive here. It's gotten to the point where people will try to take pictures of us while we're driving on the highway because everybody, not people at the Freedom Rally, not people that care about the election, just the average Canadian knows that this is bullshit. And they all are aware of what's going on. And I am a symbol that represents what people think and feel but are too afraid to say. Well, I'm not afraid to say it. And that's why they keep arresting me every other day. But that's besides the point.
Stop beating your wife.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to spill the water on it. I'm trying to do all 10 things at once. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the path forward is clear. If we don't act, right before I got here, I was on the Alex Jones show while we were driving. This is how I have to fit things in. Literally, on Zoom, while she was driving, obviously. I'm not allowed to drive, of course. But yeah, we did Alex Jones, and he asked me that question. He's like, Chris, as the leading activist in the world, thank you, Alex, what do you think will be in 3 years if the people do nothing? You really want to know, guys?
Good.
You're going to have a digital currency, a digital passport, a digital ID, and a digital vaccine passport all tied to one in your little digital identity.
Yep.
And if your vaccine's not up to date, you're not going to be able to access your digital wallet or your other things. So you're not going to be able to even, forget being locked out of a store, you're going to be locked out of your money if you don't take the jab. And at that point, they're going to start taking other liberties away from you. You heard the phrase build back better. You're going to hear it more and more and more. That's code word for we're going to use environmental regulations and the threat of global or climate change, they don't even call it global warming anymore, to take more of your rights and freedoms and take your private property rights, because this entire thing is about consolidation of wealth. Now it's going to be consolidation of property, and then it's going to be consolidation of lives.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is, they already told you, you're going to own nothing. But be happy.
Yep.
They just lied. They just like they switched a few words in there. You will own nothing and they will be happy is what they meant to say. But what does your life look like? And I'm talking like maybe not 3 years, but this is 5 years away if we do nothing. I'm going to give you a little glimpse into the future. The average person lives in 150 square feet. If you're a couple like us, you'll be living in 250 square feet. You may or may not have your own bathroom depending on your social status. It may be a dorm-like bathroom you share with the rest of your building. You don't live in a normal condo. You live in a giant building complex where your Starbucks is, your grocery store, your gym, your hairdresser, basically everything you need. So you never have to leave your home, which is convenient because you're not going to be able to have a car. You're not even going to be able to afford a bike. In fact, if you have to travel at all, you're going to walk outside and there'll be an e-bike station like you see all over the place popping up. Only you'll walk over, you'll scan your little barcode on your wrist, and your digital ID will pop up, and you'll see if you're up to date on your vaccinations. You'll see if you have a high enough social credit score. Yes, a social credit score. If you come to places like this, if you take pictures with people like me, or if you say things like me, your credit score drops, and the more it drops, the more privileges you lose. But if you're all green, now you can scan your wallet, which is your wrist, and you can rent that e-bike for the amount of time the GPS tells you it's going to take you to get from point A to point B. That's going to be your life. You're never going to get a house. You're never going to do any traveling. And you're going to have one child if you're lucky. And that child's going to live just like you. And at that point, we're not individuals. We don't have rights. At that point, we're literally individual little blips on a screen where they can just flick a switch, and even quicker and easier than getting rid of a fly, you're done. And that's where you'll be in 5 years if you don't stand up now.
Right.
So we're in the phases of united non-compliance. I'm going to break them down for you. The first one, we're already past that. That was the global awakening. That was 2020. That's when people like me and other people like me spoke all around the world and woke people up to the reality that this isn't about health and safety. This is about control. Very simple. Once people understand that and you alter that perception just that slightly, all the propaganda that used to scare them will now make them angry and more willing to act. That's what being awake means. And once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep and you can wake up others. So that was the global awakening. And we did a very good job because billions of people are now awake and aware. But they're just scared and didn't know what to do. So that's where phase 2 comes in. Taking action. And how do we take action? I already told you, we organized groups of businesses that defied lockdowns and got BC open months in advance. We're organizing groups against the vaccine passports. We're organizing a massive worldwide strike on September 1st for everybody. Everybody, listen carefully. Students, teachers, federal workers, frontline workers, cops, firefighters, everybody. You're going to strike on September 1st. We're going to let them know that private or federal, nobody's getting any mandates. We all have freedom of choice. I don't care who you work for, where you work, how long you've had your job, how important your school is. Nothing is more important than preserving the country that you grew up in for your children and their grandchildren. So that's where we're going to make our first point. And if they still want to go ahead, if Trudeau still wants to be little Mr. Dictator, he wants to be more like Castro every day. I'm not implying anything by that, by the way. Except his dictatorial tendencies. But no, seriously, if we do nothing, we are screwed. Because I already told you what's going to happen. If we stand up for ourselves, we win. It's that simple. And once we do that, we can move on to phase 3 of United Non-Compliance, which is my favorite part, and that's holding these people accountable.
Yeah! Woo! Yes!
That's when we can focus on a political solution. After we've taken our rights and freedoms back. All these people keep telling me, Chris, we want you to run for Prime Minister. And I keep telling everybody, I'm like, I keep telling you there's no such thing as a political solution to this. And now you're telling me to go give you a political solution to this. And I said, it doesn't work like that, people. No, you're not getting out of this without a little personal responsibility. And they did make a poll on Twitter. It had 15,000 votes, and it had me versus Jagmeet versus Bernier and versus Trudeau. And I got 66% of the vote. So it was pretty embarrassing. And I told everybody, if you really want something like that to happen, you have to make phase 2 of United Non-Compliance happen first. So I'm going to say it here, and I've started saying it everywhere because I want to unite the people to stand with me. If you people stand with me in United Non-Compliance, the day we abolish the vaccine passport is the day I will announce my candidacy for Prime Minister and my plan to take over the country. And we have a good plan to make sure lockdowns never happen again. Listen to it, it's foolproof. Why do we get lockdowns? We have 338 ridings in our country, and every single one of them is occupied by a public sector parasite we call politicians from whatever political party they may be, even if they're independent. They're still public sector parasites that we call politicians. So what did they lose in lockdown? Answer, absolutely nothing. They gained the power of gods over you. They got more money, more power. They didn't have to abide by any restrictions. So they literally created a world where they're up here and you're down here. So then every time we had a vote to rescind or extend lockdowns, guess what happened? The politicians would unanimously vote to extend the lockdowns, even though the people unanimously didn't want to extend the lockdowns. What a shocker. I wonder why they were doing that. So imagine if you replace those 338 public sector parasites with 338 private sector business people with their own businesses, their own networks, people that would never vote for another lockdown because they actually lost something in this lockdown. They have skin in the game. They understand how important small business is to our economy. And best of all, they know how to run a business so they wouldn't run annual deficits in every single district we have in the country. Imagine that. Imagine a country that was run efficiently instead of run on debt and hopes and dreams. And imagine a country that had people in power that none of them would vote for another lockdown. That's the start of protecting us from this. That's how we actually make real change, but it has to come from you first. You have to show everybody in the world, not me. Everyone in the world is watching Canada right now. Australia is a testing ground. It's an island. That's why they're going so hard there. Canada is the light of the world. Everywhere you go in the world, people look to Canada as a beacon of light, freedom, and hope. It's that simple. And that's why they're coming at us hard. Because if we fall, if we lay down in this fight and they do what they want to do to us, the rest of the world, like dominoes, will follow. They know this. They're striking at the very heart of the world. That's where we are right now. I know that sounds a little crazy, but it's not. Because a lot of countries never had the rights and freedoms of Canada. A lot of countries don't have the ability to be what Canada can be if run properly for the people, by the people. There's an opportunity here to not be the example that they want, but to make an example that we want.
Yep.
An example that the rest of the world can follow, and we can get freedom, not only for us, but for our brothers and sisters all around the world. And ladies and gentlemen, the only way that happens is when you just say no to this government tyranny.
Yeah, just say no!
Just say no! Arrest Trudeau!
I wrote a book. It's called Just Say No.
Arrest Trudeau for treason!
Amazon gave me a publishing deal. I jumped through all their hoops. I did everything I could do. I did the tour to launch the book. I actually got arrested the day before the tour. I'm sure that was just a coincidence. I'm sure they weren't trying to stop the launch of the tour. And I'm sure it was another coincidence that hours before launch, Amazon sent me an email that my book became the first book in the history of the world to be granted a publishing and distribution deal by Amazon and then banned before it could go on sale.
Wow.
What's so scary about my book? It's about 10 hours of me talking like I'm talking to you now, spitting straight facts, transcribed, and structured in a way that explains exactly what's going on now, where we could go from now, or where we will go from now if we do nothing. It's the most relevant book probably of our generation. I'm sorry I have to say that, because this is probably the most drastic event that we've all experienced in our lifetimes and probably our parents' lifetimes. So that's why they banned it, because they can't mischaracterize it like they can me. Oh, look at his hair, look at his teeth, look at his muscles, look at his tank top. These words speak for themselves. They can't be twisted, they can't be misconstrued, and it will wake up anybody who you can get to read it. So if you have people in your workplace that you want to get on board with the vaccine, getting on board with denying the vax pass, or getting on board with denying mandates in general, this is how you do it. I've had multiple people call me up and tell me they just passed the book around the workplace and just, and like a beacon of light. Everyone that read it was just all of a sudden one of us. There's nothing more powerful than the truth, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And that's why they locked me up, and that's why they try to make an example of me, because they want you to, they know they can't discredit what I say. So the more they try to argue me, that's why no politician will ever debate me. Because if they try, I tell the truth, all they do is lie, they'll get exposed, they'll get obliterated. They won't even engage with me in any type of conversation. And that's why the only thing they can do is try to make an example of me and try to do things so bad to me that it scares other people from telling the truth. Doctors aren't not telling you not to take the vaccine because the vaccine's safe. Doctors aren't saying anything because they've been threatened to lose their license and lose their job and lose their careers, and even worse in some cases. This is a massive pressure on all of us in all angles. So I understand where you're coming from, but it is minuscule in compared to the suffering past generations endured, and it's minuscule compared to the suffering we will endure if you do not stand up as soon as this passport is implemented, which it will be. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got some amazing shirts here. They say Christopher PM, and nothing's going to piss off Trudeau more than if we get a lot of people wearing them. I also have copies of my book, and I know there's a lot of people that probably want to take pictures, meet, etc. So I guess we're gonna, I'm not going anywhere. I know I had you guys wait in here, so I'll stay here for as long as it takes till the friggin' sun comes down. So everybody that's here that wants a picture, wants to talk to me, gets to talk to me. I'm gonna be right over here, just under the little thing there, so everyone can find me. We'll bring all the merch and stuff, and I look forward to chatting with all of you. I love you all. Thank you so much for having me.
Was he worth the wait or what, right? This guy says what he means. There's no bullshit, and he says it the way it is. We need more of that. So we were originally going to march to the health unit. So Chris went through a lot to come down here today. If you guys are okay with this, because this is a democracy, should we hang out with our good friend